Hi, today we will explain the plot of a movie called The Crow, which was released in 2024. Well, let's get straight to the story. In an apartment, Shelly is sleeping. She is then awakened by Zadie's phone call on her cell phone. In a hurry, Zadie told her that she had just shown a video involving a criminal under the guise of a well-known businessman, Vincent Roeg, to someone else. Zadie believes Vincent and his henchmen know about the tape and are now after her. Shelly doesn't immediately understand the video Zadie is referring to. She looks at Zadie's unopened message. As it turns out, it was a video of the night Shelly committed the heinous act under Vincent's influence. Their friend Dorm recorded the incident and gave it to Zadie, and now Zadie passed it on to Shelly. With the video evidence, Zadie said they could put Vincent in jail. However, she doubted it because Vincent was a big man. Feeling that her position is no longer safe, Zadie intends to run away, taking Shelly and Dorm with her. Arriving at the apartment, Zadie is surprised to see two of Vincent's accomplices that she is avoiding, Marion and a strange man, already waiting for her arrival. As she feared, they immediately drugged and kidnapped Zadie. Hearing that her best friend was in trouble, Shelly left a message on Dorm's cell phone and told him to follow her to Zadie's apartment. After that, she kept the cell phone containing the video recording and Zadie's last message in a secret cupboard behind the closet. Meanwhile, Marion's men followed Shelly's trail. Shelly was walking faster to avoid the man, but instead hit the police on patrol. As a result, she was arrested for drug possession in her bag. After which, Shelly was admitted to rehab where she met Eric. Eric is a young orphan. His days in rehab seemed boring and uninspiring. One day, he saw a new patient, Shelly, passing in front of his room. They then glanced at each other for a moment. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Vincent Roeg has a new prey, a young aspiring musician from his homeland. However, their conversation is interrupted by Marion, who tells him that she has got Zadie. Zadie wakes up in a closed white room, at which point Vincent asks her to tell him where Shelly is. Vincent also said that he would not hesitate to kill her, because according to him, the souls he had killed would make him immortal. However, Zadie is not willing to tell where Shelly is. She finally begs to be released. Vincent agrees, but instead, he whispers a mysterious incantation into Zadie's ear. In an instant, Zadie changes and unknowingly kills herself. The next day, the police found Zadie's body in the river. Elsewhere, Shelly settles into her new routine in rehab. A few days later, she initiates an introduction to Eric over lunch, and within a short time, they hit it off. Eric is known to draw and write, while Shelly can play music. Eric's beautiful songwriting inspired Shelly to collaborate with him one day. However, on the same day, Shelly was visited by three well-dressed people who looked like lawyers. As it turns out, they are Marion, Lex, and Shelly's mother, Sophia. Seeing their arrival, Shelly panicked and ran away to find a safe place. Eric was initially confused by Shelly's reaction, but he rushed to help her find a place to hide. They found an opening to escape from the laundry room. Sometime later, they were already breathing fresh air and hitching a ride on a pickup truck that passed by the edge of the forest. Shelly took Eric to her friend's fancy apartment. She said Shelly could use the place anytime since her friend only stayed there occasionally. Eric was allowed to stay over and have fun with Shelly. Their relationship grew closer day by day and became inseparable. One day, Shelly remembered a traumatic event she had experienced. She recounted how she had been invited by her mother to play piano for adults when she was very young. Shelly said she saw terrible things that she shouldn't have seen. After a while, they went to a nightclub where Shelly met Dorm, who told her that Zadie was dead. Shelly was scared and asked Eric to hurry to her apartment because she thought they would be safe there. Unexpectedly, Marion's gang had sneaked in and immediately ambushed Shelly and Eric. Without being able to fight back, they both died at almost the same time. Eric then woke up in a dark and crow-filled afterlife. In that place, Eric met his spirit guide named Kronos. Kronos said that the crows would lead him to correct his mistakes. Eric didn't believe him and thought he was just having a dream. A second later, Kronos returned him to reality where Eric was back living in his apartment, but not Shelly. While he was grieving, suddenly someone came to his apartment. That person was Detective Milch, a police officer and Vincent's accomplice. Eric tried to explain why he was there, but Milch didn't give him much to say and shot him instead. However, Eric didn't die despite being shot in a vital part. He got up again, which made Milch return to attack him again with a knife. Same, this time Eric didn't die either. Eric then returned Milch's attack and stabbed him to death. Meanwhile, the gaping stab and gunshot wounds on his body closed back up on their own. Eric still didn't understand what was happening to him, but Kronos' words kept ringing in his head. He saw Shelly's spirit on a bridge and jumped into the river. Eric followed her, but he woke up in the afterlife again and met Kronos. Eric doesn't understand why he can't meet Shelly in this place. Kronos said that Shelly was heading to a worse place. Kronos also explained that the people who killed Eric and Shelly made a deal with the devil. They killed innocent people to go to hell, so they could live forever. Eric can only get Shelly back if he can kill them all, and if his love for Shelly remains pure, he won't be able to die. After getting instructions from Kronos, he returned to the real world. Not long after, Eric visited his friend Chance's apartment to borrow a gun. The next day, he visited Sophia at Shelly's funeral. He tries to find answers to why Sophia came with the people who targeted Shelly that day. Eric told her he would take revenge and bring Shelly back to life, but Sophia didn't believe him. Eric then entered Shelly's room and found photos of Shelly's friends in a secret box at the back of the closet. Along with the photos, he also found an ID card with Roeg's name. Eric finally knew where to go. Later that night, he arrives at Roeg's gallery where an accomplice of Vincent is parked in front of the entrance. The man was convinced he had killed Eric. He didn't expect to see him again. Eric threatens him and tells him to name the person who hired him. But before he can answer, Eric accidentally shoots him for trying to resist. Shortly after, a text message from Marion arrived on the man's cell phone. Marion wrote that she had found Dorm and his address. After that, Eric saw Marion coming out of Roeg's main door and getting into a car. Eric tried to intercept them and shot the driver's glass, but the driver pressed the gas and hit Eric. This allowed Eric to enter through the broken windshield and get into a gunfight with Marion's bodyguards. However, he is eventually defeated and thrown out of the car. On the other hand, Vincent goes to Sophie's house, Shelly's mother. A moment later, Sophie tells him about Eric's arrival this afternoon, to which Vincent is stunned after learning that Eric will bring Shelly back to life. Sophia, who was still grief-stricken, then regretted accepting Vincent's gift and called it a curse. She felt that she would rather die than bear Vincent's curse. Vincent finally whispered in Sophia's ear, and shortly after, Sophia committed suicide. Without any guilt, Vincent then left Sophia's apartment. After that, he told Marion to kidnap Eric to investigate the power that Eric could bring people back to life. Eric tries to get information from Dorm, the man who approached Shelly the other day at the nightclub. Dorm said he was just trying to help Shelly get away from Marion, Vincent Roeg's men. Dorm then told Eric that Vincent used to invite him and Shelly to his parties to play music. Until one day, Dorm realized that Vincent had a dark power that could influence someone to do evil just by whispering in his victim's ear. Dorm had videotaped the incident, and he regretted sharing it with Shelly and Zadie. That night, Dorm had told Shelly to run away, but Shelly didn't want to leave without Eric. Eric returns to Shelly's friend's apartment, where he and Shelly were last together. He opened a secret box in the back of the closet and found Shelly's cell phone hidden there. A moment later, Eric played the video that Dorm was referring to. He saw Vincent whispering to influence Shelly to kill someone in the video. Feeling enough of the heartbreaking evidence, Eric then walked to Chance's house to show the video. Suddenly, Marion's accomplice, Wickham, came with 2 armed men and told Eric to come with him. Eric was about to resist, but Wickham's men quickly held him back. Until Wickham shot Chance dead. Finally, his spirit burned again. He tried to escape, but Wickham's men intercepted him and accidentally shot him. As a result, Eric was seriously injured and fell into a bathtub filled with water. Eric woke up in the afterlife, Kronos said. He entered the afterlife because his love for Shelly was no longer pure. The opportunity to revive Shelly had passed, so he suggested Eric just forget about her. But Eric couldn't. He offered a deal. If he managed to kill Vincent and all his members, he was willing to give his soul to Shelly. A flock of crows then circled above his head, which meant the offer was accepted. Kronos then cut his hand until it bled, fused his blood with Eric's, and uttered an incantation. Shortly thereafter, Eric was returned to the real world with greater strength. The first thing Eric did was finish off all of Vincent's henchmen who were still in Chance's house. After that, he smeared his face with black ink that resembled the black blood that possessed him when Kronos resurrected him. Before long, he approached Marion, who was watching an opera performance with her personal bodyguard. The opera was going on as scheduled. Marion was enjoying her entertainment solemnly, but the atmosphere turned chaotic when Eric arrived. He confronted all of Marion's bodyguards guarding the building with a merciless attack. The bodyguard who was with her informed Marion that Eric was there. She also tried to confirm whether Eric was in the theater or not through binoculars. Eric did not flinch or fall despite being shot at from all directions. On the contrary, he was able to counter the bodyguard's attacks with ease, both with his bare hands and weapons. The fight was long and sadistic. Meanwhile, Marion reported the incident to Vincent, trying to ask for help. Instead, Vincent simply thanked her for her cooperation and hung up. Just then, Eric showed up. Marion's personal bodyguard was the last person Eric killed. Marion, who felt very scared, finally told Vincent's current location at Hillburst Manor. After getting the answers he needed, Marion was finished off. Eric emerges onto the stage at the end of the opera, showing off the head of his decapitated enemy. The guests and opera performers automatically ran out of the theater after seeing the sadistic scene. Eric's struggle was not finished here. He continued his journey to the residence of Vincent Roeg, who was told by Marion. In this luxurious house that resembles a castle, Vincent knows Eric will come to him. Shortly thereafter, Eric entered Vincent's room, who seemed to have his back to him. Eric then told him to turn around while sticking a knife to his neck. Calmly, Vincent deliberately cut his hand with the knife that Eric pointed at him. It appears that Vincent is trying to buy time to attack Eric. He tried to influence Eric's mind, that he could not bring Shelly back to life, and said that he was not a good person anymore. Gradually, they get closer. Vincent thrusts the knife into Eric's now bleeding chest and whispers incantations into Eric's ear. Apparently, the whispers kept him constantly hypnotized and reminded him of random bad memories in his life. When Eric is under the influence of darkness, Vincent uses it to fuse his blood with Eric's blood. This allowed Vincent to absorb some of Eric's power. Meanwhile, Eric's bad memories turn into good memories with Shelly and slowly awaken his consciousness. He rose and pulled Vincent into the afterlife with him. Vincent, of course, didn't understand what that place was, but he masked his fear by continuing to intimidate Eric, who kept moving. He was caught off guard, not seeing Eric come up behind him and push him down into a pond filled with monster eels. In his rage, Eric punched Vincent so hard that he couldn't fight back, until finally, a hand pulled Vincent to the bottom of the pool. Sometime later, Shelly surfaced. Eric helped her up happily, then hugged her. Shelly said she had a bad dream and thought she had lost Eric. However, Shelly realized they had to part again. Eric says she'll go back to life without him. This made her very sad, but Eric said he had already made a deal. Shelly finally came back to life while being oxygenated by paramedics on the day she and Eric were attacked by Marion and her henchmen in the apartment. The memories of Shelly and their love will always be eternal for Eric, even though they are now in different realms.